Hello again. On certain parts of the internet, the name of King Charles is popping up pretty regularly at the moment, mentioned by both those who look to him for a lead and also others who dismiss him as a traitor to his own people. These two opposing points of view may be fairly easily summed up as follows. Some people think that with a government in power who seem determined to inflict as much harm on the kingdom as they are able, that the king has a duty to step in and stop their actions. This, it is suggested, could simply be done by dismissing the present parliament and signalling that a new election should be held. His failure to act in this way is viewed by certain people as a dereliction of duty. There are also those who feel that the case is more sinister and that by neglecting to support the established church in this country and speak out in defence of Christianity, as well as showing great partiality towards Islam, King Charles shows himself to be a traitor to the country he is ruling. I can understand both points of view, but I'm unable wholly to support either. It is, of course, quite true that it is the monarch's role in our constitution to appoint a prime minister, dissolve parliament, and so on. It is also true that the army, police, and civil service owe their allegiance to the king, rather than to the Prime Minister and elected government. He is, after all, the head of state, not Keir Starmer. The difficulty with his taking an active and unconventional role in politics by, say, dismissing the Prime Minister or dissolving Parliament on his own initiative is that this scheme has actually been tried before, and it didn't work out all that well for the country. In 1629, an earlier King Charles, the first of that name, grew so irritated at Parliament that he dismissed it and decided to rule the country by himself. I think that most viewers know what happened a few years later. The English Civil War settled the question of how the King and Parliament stood in relation to each other, and although nominally the monarch is at the top of the tree, in practice any attempt to interfere with Parliament would end in either a civil war or the abolition of the monarchy. Neither of these outcomes is an appealing prospect for most of us. As for the idea that King Charles has more or less abandoned the Church of England and prefers Islam to Christianity, that may well be true. There are, of course, persistent rumours that he has actually converted and become a Muslim. This might provoke a constitutional crisis if true, but would be unlikely to improve matters for the country. I really don't think that the average person in Britain cares that much about the Church of England anymore, or would even be bothered to learn that the head of the church was not a practicing Christian. Religion just doesn't matter to most citizens in this country these days. In short, the king cannot act against the government without provoking either a civil war or the end of the monarchy in Britain. And even if he had converted to Islam, most people won't see that as being hugely significant. So the idea of King Charles as either traitor or a man neglecting his duty as head of state is unlikely to get very far with the general public, and probably it will remain restricted to odd corners of the internet.